What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hard Angle Barn YouTube channel. And as promised in the last part of this Altima build, first thing we're going to do is do the spark plug tube seals and the valve covers. So with the help of my dad, we made this tool that mounts in the vise. And this is the hole saw we'll be using to cut the baffles out. This fits right in. Spins nice and easy. It's the exact size as the drill bit. And the drill bit, or sorry, the hole saw, if you notice, it's like just big enough to drill out the baffle just around where I need to press this spacer in to push these seals in. This is the valve cover from the G35 where you saw us break the whole baffle out, press these spacers in, and put the seals in. Well, the seals worked. They worked great, but because the baffle was gone and the PCV valve was exposed, it pushed a lot of oil out into the intake. Now, luckily we had a catch can so it didn't burn it, but still, a pint of oil every 10 miles, that's bad. So the way this tool works, mounted in the vise, you put the tool, it's the same size as this hole, but it's not small enough to go through the seal. So you put it on, it sits on the seal, you make sure it's nice and flat, grab your hole saw, and pretend the baffle's here, put it down on, round, drill through the baffle, pull just enough baffle out to get this seal out, and that's it. You're good to go, ready to change it, and you're still going to have, 95% of the baffle in, which won't allow oil into the PCV system, and therefore completing my original idea and making it actually work. So I got my cherry red covers here. I'm going to bang the fresh paint right on the tool. That's good for it. And I'm going to hook up a drill and let's go for it and see what happens. Hope for the best. Oh. Here we go. A little plastic ring came out. And I pull the stock seal out now. And there you have it. Stock seal is out. I got a new seal and a spacer here. I'll go ahead and pull the seal out. Alright, and I can push this spacer right in where the old one, where the old seal came out of. And then when I push this seal in, fresh spark plug tube seals, and the baffle's still there. That size actually worked out perfectly. I didn't think it was going to be that precise. That is perfect. And these, again, are now serviceable forever. As long as the valve cover is still in one piece, if the seals ever go bad, all I got to do is take them off, pull the seal out, order a set of seals, which for these is $6 for the 6. Push the new ones in, I'm done. That's it. So there you go. This is what it looks like now that the baffle is cut out. Enough to press these rings in. Go ahead and finish this cover off and put it back on the motor, and we are good to go on seals for life. So yeah, if this thing ever gets in an accident, I guess I'm gonna have to save the valve covers. I'm not even gonna joke about that. I hope this car lasts forever. There we go. 3 brand new spark plug tube seals ready to go. Alright, so I'm getting the wiring harness on. The valve covers are on. I put a little RTV in both of the corners where the cam bridge meets the head so that they don't leak. And as soon as I get the knock sensors plugged in, I can put the lower plenum on and then put on the upper. And we're getting close to hearing this thing start. I am both nervous and excited. So I got the intake half bolted down. So it makes it a little easier so I can replace all these old vacuum lines. Here's a nice fresh new rubber one. All these are old and cracked. So I'm not going to hook the intake up completely because as soon as all the wiring's hooked up, we're going to pull the intake off and then I'll fill the engine with oil and then I'll crank it without the spark plugs. Since, you know, no compression, there's less strain on the bearings. When I get oil pressure, I'll stick the spark plugs in, put the coil packs back on, and then I'll be done on that side because this head is covered by the intake. So then I can slap the intake back on, hook it up completely, and we should be ready for a first start attempt. And of course, as tradition, with open headers. But also mainly because the collector pipe doesn't fit. So here we go. All the vacuum lines are brand new, so we won't have any vacuum issues. Unless, of course, I didn't hook these up right, because I can't really remember, and the pictures I took are very unclear. So the stock location for the O2 sensor is about right here. Now it's down here. So I'm now extending the O2 sensor wire, making sure to use heat shrink and everything so it's done correctly. It's not going to focus. So go ahead and finish this up and put that on, but pretty much the rest of the wiring is all hooked up and we're ready to fill it with oil and crank it. Alright, so the fuel pump fuse is unplugged, the coil packs are out, there's no spark plugs in it, so it has no compression, so it'll turn really easy. I'm going to crank it, get it oil pressure since it's a fresh rebuild. It's pretty standard for every time I do an engine. And then we're going to check for leaks. So I'll probably let it, since this is a push button start, it'll auto crank for a certain amount of time. I'll probably let it do it twice, unless it takes more than that to turn the oil light off. When the oil light turns off, check it for leaks. Alright, we are ready to try to fire this thing. I'm going to go ahead and stick the, well, that doesn't fit very well. I'm going to stick the fuel pump fuse back in so we can start this car. Alright, let's see if the fuel pump let's see if the fuel pump primes without leaking. I heard it. And I don't hear gushing sounds of fuel. Yeah, looks like it is nice and dry. No leaks. Cool. Well, here we go, the moment I've been waiting for. Okay, that's bad. That's really bad. What the hell happened? So, I just died a little inside. I don't know exactly what happened. All right, I did some digging. I think the oil to coolant heat exchanger wasn't tightened all the way. I'm not sure. I'm guessing. So I have it refilled. The floor is kind of cleaned up. I'm gonna have Shy start it, and hopefully if it sprays we can see it, but it would be perfect if it didn't spray. Yeah, go ahead and start it. So looking at the parts VQ, I noticed this hole has a bolt in it and mine doesn't, and you'll see it'll flush out some oil here in a second. You see that? So that's the hole that's puking a ton of oil. Thankfully, it's not something I did wrong. It's just one bolt I forgot. And obviously being in the car, I couldn't see that leak. If my calculations are correct, this is the bolt. It's now in the oil pan. As I was saying, the parts engine had this little bolt with this little copper washer in the same hole. So I don't know how I forgot it. I don't know how I overlooked it, but I did. So this is 100% my fault. This was a self-inflicted problem. So I checked the dipstick. We lost half a quart. I'm going to put that half a quart back in. And we are going to try again. That might have been more than half a quart. Close enough. Why it's running so bad now. Well, there you have it. She's running. She's got oil pressure. I figured it out. Simple mistake that I made. I have a ton of cleanup to do tomorrow, but right now it's like 11:30. I am so sorry, neighbors. It's time to go to bed. Alright, back on track after the whole oil fiasco. So after reviewing some footage last night to make sure there wasn't any damage or to kind of give myself some closure, I did notice when the engine started, even when it was spewing oil all over the ground, it did have oil pressure. The light was turned off. It's running and it's insanely loud. I think that means I had at least 7 psi, so it's not great, but it's at least something. It didn't run with nothing, so I'm a little bit more confident now that there's no damage in the engine. But anyway, we have new axles ready to go in. I got this side prepped and ready to receive the axles, so let's get right to it. So I got my new axle. I got some red line oil left over, filling up spec trans. I'm going to lube up this seal surface so that it slides in easy. I'm going to do the splines a little bit. The seal surface is what's important. Alright, I got this axle lubed up as well. Let me see if I can get this installed one-handed. Ooh, I made a mistake. My right wrist is still messed up. This is not a one-handed job. Alright, this axle is now installed as well. They're both in. We can probably start on the front end. So one of the last things we have to tackle is this exhaust. So I got it mocked up. This is the front header, and obviously the rear header, it doesn't line up. So I got to add about 0.8 of an inch here, and we're going to add about 2.5 inches here because that hits the subframe. So I want to give thanks to my super helpful neighbor Matt. He's actually going to let me use some of his equipment to cut that and TIG weld it. I don't have a TIG welder. I don't even have like stainless wire for my MIG or anything. So he's going to actually teach me how to TIG, and then we're going to TIG that exhaust to make it fit. So I want to give another thanks to Matt. I really appreciate the help. I'm not sure how much footage I'll get working at his shop. I don't know. I just feel a little out of place when I'm filming in somebody else's facility, but we'll see. Well, I've never used one of these saws before, so hopefully this goes well and I can cut straight. That cut insanely fast. I've only ever cut with a grinder. That was nuts. Pretty decent cut too. I'd say that is pretty straight. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. Alright, I got this piece marked for orientation and it needs welded. This one's cut, mocked up, and marked. Now let's go see if we can cut some stainless steel pipe, tack these on, and see how it fits. Alright, we're gonna go test fit this piece. What? We're gonna go test fit this piece. I have a section added in there. It's taped up. See how it fits. My transmission fluid just showed up at the house from Amazon. Alright, so I got this piece tacked. Extension there, extension there. I actually did this all myself, and I think I'm going to do all the welding myself too. Matt let me play around with some scrap metal for about 3 hours. I was practicing TIG, so it's pretty late. I think I'm going to go to bed, but tomorrow I'm going to test fit this up, which it should fit pretty well because I've already taped it up, test fitted it before I tacked it. But test fit this tomorrow and then finish weld it, and I'm going to try to get some footage of that.
Just calling to say I
Well, here's this piece in all its glory. Not perfect, but it was my second time picking up a TIG welder ever. And Matt did have to clean up some of my welds because some of them were so bad. But let's get this put on the car. We'll get that quote-unquote catalytic converter put in place. Then we're going to have to trim this mid-pipe by the same amount we put on that collector. And then the exhaust is done. We're almost ready to go on this. Alright, there it is. Back to the cat. Just got to put the mid pipe in that goes to the rear exhaust all the way back there, and the exhaust portion is done. So somehow, even with a bad wrist, I got these incredibly heavy seats out of the Altima and I didn't scratch anything. Did make one tiny little mark that sucks, but it is what it is. Got them out. And I'm going to start wet vacuuming them to get the mold off. You can see it's pretty late outside, but I'm going to let them sit overnight to dry before I put them back in the car, which I've never done before, so hopefully they'll be a little bit drier. The car won't get musty or anything. So let's get right to the time lapse after I show you the mold that I'm trying to get rid of. So this one basically rubbed off on my pants from all the times I was trying to get in and out and start it, but this is what I'm trying to get rid of, that mold from sitting under a car cover for 2 years. So moral of the story, don't sit stuff under a cover for 2 years. Just finish it. Well, it's almost 3 hours later, but all the seats are mold free, the mats are mold free, and the whole interior is detailed and mold free. So now I just gotta let it dry for a little bit, windows down, this all hanging out here. And quick note, I was barely even able to get the seats out of the car as it is, so I think tomorrow I'm gonna focus on getting the exhaust finished, trans fluid in, brakes bled, coolant put in and bled, and then I'm just gonna drive it outside and open the doors all the way so I can get the seats back in because it's a little thin in here. All right, it's time to bleed the cooling system. I got it all the way filled. There's a little bit left in the funnel, and the exhaust is fully hooked up now too, so I finally get to see what it sounds like. See some smoke. The headers definitely have oil on them. Alright, so I got a whole bunch of stuff done. I did a real quick polish on these headlights. They're getting changed anyway, so it doesn't matter. Headlights are hooked up. I got the O2 sensors in. I did a whole bunch of stuff. Trans is filled. It's basically ready to go. I'm going to stick the bumper on, and then we're basically ready to put it on the ground and see if it moves itself. Wow, I got to put a seat in first. I don't have a seat. Gonna clear my bumper. Ooh! Just enough. Just wanted to get a quick shot of the interior, freshly detailed, before I get in and get it all mucked up. The outside needs cleaned so bad. It's so dusty. But the inside, except for this footprint I got on the door somehow, the inside's pretty fresh. I don't have my keys. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Downshift here. She is running. The airbag light is flashing. I gotta figure out why it's doing that. I think I might not have installed like the front impact sensor. But yeah, she is running really nice. Really far that way. Wow. I forgot how to drive. I also just want to point out that exhaust is stupid low to the ground. That's like 2 inches maybe. Wow. This thing is super dirty, so it is time for a wash. We're gonna put those tires on too. Got the new rubbers on, and I even got the fender liners back in. She's coming along nicely. Also, if it looks like it's leaning, that that bead was so hard to break, I actually bent the machine a little bit. I really should weld some stuff in at the bottom to brace it.